I'm going live early. Live early. Hey there, everybody. See what we got here. Glug, glug, glug. Well, I think I'm gonna, let's make sure you can hear this too before my monitor dies on me.
Hey there, everybody. Peter Tompkins here with Skating Bear Studios in Cleveland, Ohio. Some of you may know me as PTPOP on YouTube. The career that you've built has taken 5, 10, maybe 20 years of your life to master. You've studied the products, the procedures, the systems. You know them inside.
Yeah, I guess you can see that. I don't know if you can see that or not. Hey there, everybody. I decided to go live here tonight and kind of jump on here, make sure everything's working ahead of time. Was that you? Hey there. Jack's in my eyes. Jack Spade Productions, how's it going? Take people in prison and make them more call centers. They will never commit a crime again. There's actually prisoners in the pen that do call center work. I did a video on that a couple years ago, oddly enough. But hey, thanks for joining tonight. So you can hear me. Here, if I play this video, can you hear my promotional video?
Peter Tompkins here with Skating Bear Studios in Cleveland,
I'll play just like 3 or 4
Some of you
seconds
may
of
know
it.
me as.
I think there's a 30-second delay. Sorry, we're doing some sound check here. Make sure the sound is good. Here, I'll do it again because I forgot to switch the screen.
Hey there, everybody. Peter Tompkins here with Skating Bear Studios in Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay. My wife helps me out with sound and stuff in the other room to make sure you can hear everything. But welcome. It is Wednesday night, October 8th, 2025, and having a great day. It's a beautiful day here in Ohio. Just an absolutely gorgeous day with big white puffy clouds and a sunny day. And we got a lot going on this week, a whole lot. I had a doctor's appointment today and doing a bunch of stuff tomorrow. And I got a little of a quick jump start or head start on this. Did you get it? Okay, thanks. Got a head start on this today. Just want to get on here, make sure everything is working. Excuse me a second there. So what's everybody up to tonight? And again, I've been working on that documentary. And I thought what I would do is show you a little promotional clip if you haven't seen it yet. I've got a promotional clip I made for a crowdfunding site called Seed and Spark, or Spark and Seed. And when I made this video, excuse me a second again, my eyeballs are itchy. When I made this video, I went on to Seed and Speed, and I heard about Seed and Speed through ChatGPT. I did a search on ChatGPT for, you know, crowdfunding places that were good for filmmakers, and I'd never heard of Seed and Speed, or Seed and Spark, Seed and Spark, sorry, Seed and Speed. And they were recommended as being one of the best ones for crowdfunding to raise funds for my film. So I went through ChatGPT and I asked it, you know, how do I do this? What's the best way to write the proposal? It helped me through all of it, and I submitted it. I created a little video that'll play here for you, and a variety of other things, including my mission statement and the vision for my film and all this stuff that it wrote for me. I submitted it to Spark and Seed, or Seed and Spark. Well, I can't ever remember the name of that company. Let me look it up here before I... Is it Seed and Spark? Yeah, it's Seed and Spark. Seed and Spark. And I submitted it a couple days ago, like over the weekend, or maybe I submitted it, what is today, Wednesday? I submitted it probably on Sunday. I worked on it for a couple of days, and they rejected it. They didn't out now. I think they accepted the project, but they didn't accept my content. It wasn't good enough. It wasn't polished enough. So I have to redo it. But I thought I'd play for you all what I have done up to this point, and that's this video. This is like a promotional video where I ask for funds, because when you make a documentary or you make any film, it costs quite a bit of money to make a full feature film. And that's why I do most of it by myself, because I just don't have the cash in the bank to pay somebody out of pocket to run sound or to bring cameras in and bring editors in and all these people that, you know, big producers and directors have at their disposal. I don't have a budget like that. But this one I really want to be highly polished. My first two were really good. I had 2 award-winning documentaries, but you know, I want this one to be different. I want this one to get a message out there. So this is the video, the promotional video I created for Seed and Speed, or Seed and Spark, Seed and Speed. Where do I get that? I don't know. I have no idea. But this one was rejected because they said that like talking head videos don't raise any money. So I was just right now working on a brand new one, which is going to take me a better part of a couple of days to reshoot this. But here you go. This is, let me get my bald head in here. And there we are. All right, let me play this. Let me put me down here. All right, so this is what I came up with for this.
Hey there, everybody. Peter Tompkins here with Skating Bear Studios in Cleveland, Ohio. Some of you may know me as PTPOP on YouTube. The career that you've built has taken 5, 10, maybe 20 years of your life to master. You've studied the products, the procedures, the systems. You know them inside and out. But what if I told you that every customer service rep who supports the products you create or sell are given only 2 weeks to learn it all?
That's right. 2 weeks to understand complex systems, memorize scripts, manage multiple software packages, and if they can't keep it up, there's something walked out the door. And that I love the spitting part. I did that several times to try to get the right sound of the spit going out and splatting in the sink, but I didn't really come out the way I had hoped.
Person that you're yelling at on the phone when you call into a call center, the one who seems confused or unsure, they probably don't know what they're doing. It's not because they're stupid or lazy or careless, but because they were never given the time or resource to truly learn the job.
You know there's somebody out there as a customer goes, yeah, they're stupid. I know they're stupid. You can't convince me they're not stupid.
They were thrown into the deep end with impossible expectations and no lifeline. Only 2 weeks of training to learn everything they are expected to master, from the products to the systems to the sales scripts. In today's call centers, workers are constantly timed, recorded, and graded on their every word. They're told to smile through the phone while juggling irate customers, unrealistic metrics, and expected to be human computers, perfectly efficient, endlessly patient, and completely replaceable.
I edited this in CapCut, and I found a feature on there that straightened my eyes out. It was awesome. This one, my eyes look kind of dead. If you look at my eyes, you know, because my right eye wanders off. And so when I hit this button, it was like, brought them both straight forward. It's like the eye following AI. It was just so awesome. I was like, yeah, look, my eyes are straight. Doctors couldn't do it, but CapCut can do it.
It's a system designed for control, not for compassion. It's a system designed to cut corners, increase revenue, and it's not about customer service. It's about profit. How do I know this? I know because I lived this life as a call center rep for over 20 years. I've watched good people break under the pressure, carried out on stretchers. I've seen workers fired without warning only to be replaced within days by someone new. And now, artificial intelligence is going to take their jobs. Millions of these jobs that feed families, are disappearing. And when that happens, it won't just be the workers who suffer. It will be entire communities.
And that's true. When they shut down these call centers, they usually, first of all, they open them up in kind of impoverished areas, promising people abundant work, abundant lifestyle, well-paying jobs, and a lot of people end up working there, whether they like it or not, but it helps keep a roof over their head. And then when they shut down the shop, when they offshore it, or they close the call center because of AI, hundreds of people, sometimes thousands of people lose their jobs.
Documentary, Voices from the Call Center, pulls back the curtain on a world few ever see. It's a story about stress, burnout, and exploitation, but also about humanity, resilience, and the fight for dignity in a system that values numbers and profits over people. This film gives a voice to those who've been silenced, the people who take your calls, solve your problems, and quietly carry the emotional weight of a very broken system. But I can't make this film alone. I need your help to finish this film, to fund production, editing, marketing, and outreach, so these stories can be heard. Your support isn't just helping to make a movie. It's helping to expose an injustice. It's helping to give millions of workers a voice. And it's helping us ask the question that corporations refuse to answer. What happens when the people are gone and the machines are all that's left? Because this isn't just a film about call centers. It's about all of us and the kind of future we're building. Your support makes a real difference. With just a donation of $25, you can help capture interviews with former call center workers who've never been heard before. A $50 contribution helps cover travel and editing costs. And a $100 donation brings us closer to completing this project so it can reach festivals, streaming platforms, and the general public. Every contribution, no matter the size, helps give a voice to the people behind the headset, those who answer your calls, solve your problems, and endure impossible conditions to survive. Thanks so much for your time and your support. I look forward to hearing from you.
So there you have it. So thanks for watching that. Let me minimize my screen here.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by
Oh
thinking
wait,
about
hold
it.
on there, buddy.
Base
I don't want
44.
your advertisements on my show. So that's just a little thing I came up with. I thought that was pretty snazzy. I thought that was a pretty good production. I didn't do any research into whether talking head videos really do any good or not. But I guess they know what they're talking about. I need to raise money, so I'm redoing the video right now. It'll have music. It'll be all produced. It'll have some shots from my current shoot that I did with my friend Kevin. And it's kind of interesting because I'm learning as this goes along. I started making films in the year 2019. I started working on The Artist. And it's a long process. This is a very long, arduous process, and there's a lot more to it than I had ever imagined. I mean, there's just so many things. And even though I kind of got a head start on this a couple of years, I started working on this film a couple of years ago, and I decided to bag it. And now I'm back working on it. And I got a bunch of things lined up. I may have a group of Indian or Pakistani guys that a friend of mine introduced me to that have a small call center in a building literally down the street from me. And there's like 10 guys and gals that work there. And I'm going to talk with the manager of the call center and see if he'll let me either talk to him. What I'm trying to find out is what it takes to start a call center, if he can tell me that. And if he can tell me the technology behind it and the people he hires and why he has the metrics he has. But I have to first, I don't even know this guy. I don't know him from, a bag of potatoes. So I don't know what the likelihood is of him going, oh, sure, I'll be in your film. What the heck? I got nothing better to do. But a lot of these people have signed NDAs and, you know, you never know if you'll get them on to come on film. Let's see, who do we got here now? We got Michael Bruce. Hi, Michael. A lot of Fortune 500 companies already used prison call centers in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, the big companies are using prisons. And that's something I got to put in the film. I should put that down. I don't have a pen and a pencil with me. But I got to talk about that in the films, how they use prisoners in federal penitentiaries to take calls. Or maybe it's not federal pens, but they're locked up for a while, and these people take call center calls. And that's the truth. Michael also says AT&T had 4-week training and it wasn't enough. Yeah, Michael, I was at Verizon Wireless, and we had I think it was 6 weeks of training, and then we had 2 weeks in like a mock call center. It was like a little room that was separated from the major call center, and we were supposed to be in there for 2 weeks with, quote, trainers, and they had little pom-poms that they gave us, and they said, hey, anytime you have a question, just hold up this flag, you know, and you saw these flags shooting up. There was like 30 people in my training class to start. There was maybe 20 left by the time we got into the mock call center. There may be 15 left after we got out of the mock call center. So we lost like 50% of our training class. But anyway, you go in there, and after 6 weeks, it wasn't enough. It was almost 8 weeks of training, and it wasn't enough. The questions that these customers asked were never, I mean, these are calls and questions customers had that were so from way out in left field. There's no way you could prepare for it. You could never prepare for the personalities, for the conflicts these people had. So I feel for AT&T. I heard AT&T's call centers are brutal. Were they bad? What is this down here? Engage with your customers, it says. Okay. I don't know. Let's see here. I'll start a Q&A. Do you think, what should I talk about in my documentary? So I put a Q&A out there. What do you think I should talk about in my documentary? But now it took away my my live chat. Here's live chat. There it is. Welcome to live chat. Remember to guard your privacy. So yeah, you're right. It's never enough. It really, I've never understood. Well, you'll see from what I've learned from Debbie Goldman's book, Disconnected. Let me get that. Let me get that for a second. Where is her book? I think I've got it right here. I've talked about this before. Let me grab it from my book bag. This is Debbie Goldman's book, Disconnected. And Debbie was a CWA member and a liaison for the company. And she worked in telecommunications with the Bell system, the Bell companies. And this book it illustrates and talks about how call centers and how customer service in general went from being about good customer service and how it evolved to becoming about metrics and profits and watching money for the corporations. The corporatization of customer service was the end of it. And I'm going to quote her book in the film, and she will be in my film. She's agreed to it, but I have to do a lot of research and get this book read. I've got through the foreword, the introduction and the foreword. And this is fascinating to me because I worked in telecommunications for about 12 to 14 years. And I worked in it after divestiture, after the breakup of Ma Bell and AT&T, and then I got involved in it in the breakup of the Bell companies, and I started working for competitors to the major incumbent Lex. I worked for a company called XO Communications, and we had AT&T had to work with us. It was not AT&T, I'm sorry, Ameritech. Ameritech was a local bell company here in Ohio. It was Ohio Bell. Then it became Ameritech. Then it became SBC. Then after that, I don't know what became of it. Let's see who's here. CNM says, today I had a Hispanic caller that asked me to transfer him to an American agent because he thinks that an American can override the system for him and do whatever he wants. That's awful. I don't know why people think anything. Like if they hear somebody on the phone, NM, are you Indian or Pakistani or something like that? Because Americans, we're just dumb as a box of rocks. We're so anti anybody else other than somebody here, and most of us are from someplace else to begin with. I mean, my family came here from Scotland and Wales. My wife's family's from Germany. You know, I don't even know how we can sit here and say no one's allowed to come here. You can't talk to anybody. We automatically think that anybody with an accent is an idiot. I don't know why we think that. Oh, you're Hispanic. And he called the Spanish line. As soon as I advanced that, what he wanted, he has to speak with an American agent. I get it's because you had an accent? So a Hispanic caller is talking to you and you're Hispanic, but he thought that somebody who was, quote, American could override the system for him. Yeah, I believe it. I don't know if you guys have ever talked to people from Texas, but when you get a couple of the good old boys on your phone from Texas with the 10-gallon hat and the 6-shooter, those people, they think that they're bigger than the state itself. They're all full of Texas there. I have nothing against Texas. I actually love Texas. We were gonna move to Austin at one point, but the plans fell through. So I am in the process of reading this book. Debbie was generous enough to speak with me on the phone. She's a highly educated woman and very, very educated and well-versed in unions and labor and customer service, and she understands the strife that we all go through, or we're going through, or I went through, and some of you are still going through. And I'm going to hopefully make a film that spills the beans and gets out to the general public so people really know what's happening when they call into a customer service department. Okay, I got it right, NM. Yeah, I don't know why anybody would think that a, quote, American would have any more power than you would have. It makes no sense. People get some weird stuff in their heads. They really do. They get some really strange stuff in their heads. And it doesn't make any sense. And it's just from how you're raised. If you're raised to think that certain people are a certain way, and even though it's not true, and you know, you go out into the world, if you get to pull yourself away from mommy and daddy and you go out in the real world and see that, you know, what you see on the news isn't real, when you get to meet people of other walks of life and find out they're not as bad as you think they are, it kind of changes your perspective on everything. I lived in the Southwest for 10 years, and, you know, when you live out here in the Midwest, you hear that the Mexican people are all criminals. That's what Trump says. They're all bad hombres. He says there's just criminals and gang members and drug addiction and all these horrible people coming over the border from Mexico and Guatemala and all this stuff. Well, our friend's husband was Guatemalan, and he was cool, and we met all kinds of people from the Mexican world, the world of Mexico, landscapers and all kinds of people. We never had any problems with the Mexican people in Arizona. They were the hardest working people in the state. And I've probably told the story before, but there was a Wendy's that my wife and I frequented just down the street from us. And it was all the staff was Mexican. The entire staff were just young Mexican men and women, boys and girls, probably high school kids and young adults. And in Phoenix, there used to be a sheriff named Joe Arpaio. And I guess he's still around. I don't know, I thought he had passed away, but a friend of mine who lives out there during part of the year told me he's still around. So Joe Arpaio raids this Wendy's and with ICE and takes away all the Mexican workers and replaced them with all of us white dudes, white kids that feel they're better than this. They stand behind the counter like, "Hi, can I help you?" You know, and when the Mexican people were running the cash register or running the front part of the store, you got in and out of that line really fast. You got in and out, boom, 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 boom. You go in, "Hey, I'll have a junior bacon cheeseburger, frosty, and a fry." "Okay, sir. Thank you, senor." "Okay." And you be out the door. Fast forward, Sheriff Joe comes in with ICE, cleans the place out. The owner of the franchise brings in all white kids, pimply-faced little kids that don't want to be there. They feel they're too good to work in fast food. That they're dreaming of becoming the next whatever. And you go up to the counter and be like, "Huh, can I help you?" "Okay, hold on a second. I got to put the order in." "Oh, I don't want to be here, dude. You're old and I don't really want to be taking your order." And it took like 20 minutes to get through the line just to get up to get your order. And yeah, I guess maybe, I don't know what you call it when you're, I'm not real fond of us white folks, because what I've seen from white folks, and people that I know very close to me that share my DNA, are some of the meanest, weirdest people you ever meet. Some of the people I know, my father would steal the shirt off your back just so you can get a bottle of booze. And he didn't give a crap. He just didn't give a crap about any of us. That was my own father. So I don't know why people think that we're so cool, us white folks. I don't get it. Let's see, some of these people have lost their minds, says MM. Yeah, some people, their minds are warped. Many people's minds are warped. You can see it. Now that I've kind of pulled myself out of the matrix and I'm looking in at it, you see it from a different perspective now. The whole world is totally screwy. I mean, people really, I'm not certain where they get these thoughts from, but I know where I got it from. I can't speak for everybody else. I got it from conditioning and programming through Hollywood. And when I talk about Hollywood, I mean movies, TV, music, radio, advertising, anything. We're constantly bombarded with messages of love and sex and hate and political warfare. And now we're on the brink of civil war because everybody's upset about the Democrats, and the Democrats are upset about the Republicans, and everybody believes this stuff. You know, you hear Donald Trump go on the news and say, "Well, I solved," I can't do a Trump impersonation. I ended 7 wars. Sure you did there, Donald. What wars were they? Why don't you tell us what wars they were, how you solved them, and what leaders you spoke to get these wars resolved. But yes, the conditioning. I think the conditioning makes people go crazy. And now people are losing their minds because a lot of people are coming out of the matrix and they're waking up to all the lies that the government's crooked and you can't rely on either side of the aisle. And people are going, "Oh my God, this isn't what I thought it was going to be." And people are going, "Oh man, I'm not finding the love of my life. Oh my God, the house I bought is not what I thought it was going to be. Oh, the job I have, I hate." And people are they're really getting depressed. They're getting suicidal. And it's tough. And when you wake up to all the lies, you go, "Oh geez, what have I been doing for them?" I mean, I'll be 60 soon. And I wasted probably 40 years of my life chasing after just ghosts in the wind. So that's how I think people lose their mind. Oh yeah, I am. I get it that you're an American, but do you have a Hispanic accent? Because you probably heard that and thought you didn't have any power. I can guarantee it if you have that accent. Hey there, TRG. Welcome aboard tonight. I don't know how long my microphone's going to last here. But I know a couple of you bought this book. I told Debbie that I got a couple of her copies sold. And I'll read off the back of this book here. This is Disconnected. I got it covered up by Debbie Goldman. And it says she explores how call center employees and their union fought for good, humane jobs in the face of degraded working conditions and downward pressure on wages. Workers and their union, the Communications Workers of America, put up a creative and determined fight for a safe and secure paying jobs. They won impressive protections that are instructive for today's workforce, but trends in technology, capitalism, and corporate governance, combined with employers' aggressive assault on unions, narrowed their options. And, this is something that infuriates me because believe it or not, there was a time when America was a union. The unions ran things, and they, at least on the surface, from what I told, the unions worked to make sure workers had a better environment to work in. And as Debbie will tell you in the film, back in the 1970s, AT&T had 1 million employees. Of those 1 million employees, 675,000 were union members. And when you called AT&T's toll-free number to get customer service or to get assistance or operator assistance, you got a live person. There were no numbers to press. There were no options. There was none of this. It was all analog. And each person in different regions was assigned an area code in exchange. So if you were in Cleveland, you would be assigned 216-285. And the 10,000 numbers within that. So if somebody called you and said, I have a question about my account, he'd say, what's your phone number? He'd look it up. He'd go to an actual paper bin that had your record based off of either the area code in the exchange, and he pulled out your records and would talk your bill about you. But now when you call in, you have to hit 17 options. Press 1 for Spanish, press 2 for English, press 3 for the transgender line, press 4 for whatever. Press, and it goes on and on. And by the time you get through all the prompts and all the things, you don't talk to a live person, and it's changed so much. And it's more than apparent. This is what gets me, is that it's more than apparent that corporations have absolutely not a care in the world about you, their customers, or what they're doing to you. They just want your money. And they're flaunting it in your face. They're just throwing it in your face. But now they're getting rid of all the call centers with artificial intelligence. And it's a travesty. It's an outrage. I'm outraged by it because they throw in your face first. They gaslight you and say, oh no, we care. The customer's always right. But that's not true. That's not true. They're just saying that. That's just a phrase they like to throw out there to make customers feel like they have some power. Customers have no power. Once you buy that product, once you sign on the dotted line for Verizon Wireless or your electric bill or whoever it is, they don't care about you. They got your money. They got your contract. They got your signature. They got you. They don't care. And they give you crappy customer service, not because all of us are bad. It's because they don't train us. They don't care about you. And the companies have grown too big. They've got too many customers now. And they don't know how to handle it. I don't know how how did AT&T handle it with over how many millions of customers they must have had? They had 1 million employees, and they handled customer complaints flawlessly. I still remember to this day, you would call, operator assistance, and you always got a live person on the phone. TRG says, let's see here. I've just done 3 weeks of training at this bank, and it was all sideshows mostly. Way so unhelpful, and now they expect us to know the practical side of work. Yeah, they do that everywhere. It doesn't change. He says, I'm doing shadowing for another 2 weeks, watching how other agents work. I've done that. I always found that helpful. But do you ever find that, like, when you shadow somebody, they get these easy calls? It's like, oh, hi, my name's Bill Smith. Can I have the balance to my bill? Gee, thanks, bye. Then when you start taking real calls, it's just screaming lunatic customers from the beginning of the day to the end. I always found that strange. I think they feed fake calls into the people you're shadowing. Let's see here. But I suggested if we can do more role plays and engage fellow trainees like spectators as we learn. They don't listen. I always hated role playing. I just want to get on the phones. I didn't learn anything from the role playing. That's something I should do a video about role playing. I forgot all about role playing. You sit in a room when you're assigned another person, or the person sitting next to you, and you have to pretend you're the agent, and then the other person pretends to the customer. Then you switch. Oh my God! Why didn't I? That's a good one. See if I have. I don't know if my Q&A is still on here. Is my Q&A on here? I can't see it. All right. No, they're not going to listen to you, TRG. They're not going to listen to you. They don't care. They've got a set plan, and everything that they do to you is pushed down from the top. So somebody above the call center sits down and says, this is how we're going to run the call center. This is how you're going to train them. This is how you're going to do side-by-sides. This is the talk time. This is what they're going to sell. This is how you're going to, achieve the sales goals. And if you don't meet them, those people are going to have their jobs threatened. It's always like that. And it's like that everywhere. I wish in this film I'm making, if I could get some people from behind the scenes that would tell me what goes on. If I could get a retired like Q&A person from a big call center, if I could get a retired director of a call center said, hey, yeah, it was all baloney. I'm Bill Smith from XYZ Corporation. This is what really goes on behind the scenes. I'm still looking for that person. And I've got a couple of you have mentioned some people. I haven't looked into them yet. I found their profiles on LinkedIn. But there's no way to contact these higher ups on LinkedIn. They don't have a way to directly contact them. And in some cases, you have to pay for the advanced version of LinkedIn to do it. But even then, I don't know who reads their LinkedIn profiles. It's probably like an admin or somebody. What I wanted to do is I had a friend that worked at Progressive Insurance, a guy who was my boss years ago. And I finally got in touch with somebody who knew him, and he's retired now. And she doesn't know how to get a hold of him, allegedly. Which I find it hard to believe because they used to go out drinking all the time. She and this guy would always be out throwing them back at the local watering holes. And he'd be perfect. Oh, this guy was great. He's a great guy, brilliant guy. He's one of the last good bosses I had. TRG says, too much for them. They're not resourceful. I won't quit, but if they fire me for any performance reason, it will be on their training structure. They're disorganized despite their efforts. Yeah, I think training, to what I've seen over the years, trainers are given just the bare bones structure of how to disseminate as little information as possible to get you in and out of training in 2 to 3 weeks. There's no way they can cover everything, so they spend a couple of days on billing, they spend a couple of days on the software, and they spend a couple of days on how to sell. And, another day of pizza and throwing koosh balls around and role-playing. It's more just enough to pacify everybody to think they've got enough training to get on the phones. But, I guess it's kind of like warfare. When you go to basic training, are you really prepared? If you've never been to battle before, from what I've talked to guys who've been to boot camp, once bullets start flying in live action, it's totally different than boot camp. And if you live or die, it depends on how you react to what's going on around you. It's the same in a call center. Once the real calls start coming in, you either know how to handle it or you don't. I know it's an extreme comparison, but I always compare call centers to battle because when you go into training, it's like going into boot camp. And I've seen in the films, like the World War II films, where John Wayne or somebody will say, Look to your buddy on your left and look to your buddy on your right. One of you ain't coming back, you know. Once you hit the beaches of Normandy. And this is the same thing in a call center. When you go into training, you know, look at the person on your left, look at the person on your right. You know, after training, there's only going to be probably half of you left. You're not going to be around anymore. They'll leave the quitter, get fired. And M says, they don't care. I just keep my mouth shut and try to survive the day. Yeah, that's all you can do. You can't fight the machine. You can't get upset as TRG either. You can't. Don't even bother trying to give them suggestions or ideas. That they're not going to listen. And they're going to look at you as a troublemaker. They're going to go, well, that guy over there, he's telling us we should do our training differently. Don't. Trust me, you're just gonna make things worse for yourself. Just go in and do the best you can and try to survive, because they're just gonna find a reason to get rid of you if you talk too much. I would really just keep it to yourself. And I know it's hard. It's really hard. I was one of those guys. I spoke up a couple times. I got in trouble once for an email. I was at a bank in Arizona. This bank was horrible. It was like this call center was just poorly run. The computers were garbage. Like, you had compact computers at one station. You had Dell computers at another station. You had some of the computers worked, some of the computers didn't. You know, you'd come in, some of the headsets were busted. The supervisor I had, she didn't do anything. She never listened to my calls. It was actually probably a good job. I shouldn't have gotten upset at this job because I really had it made, because they didn't really care what I did. I sometimes just sat there on hold and nobody ever said anything to me. I just put the customer on hold, or I'd stop taking calls. I'd forgotten about all that. But so one day my supervisor sent out this email, and this is probably in 2005 or 6, I think, or 7. I don't know. It was a few years after 9/11. I don't remember the email. She sent out some, you know, she's one of these supervisors that sends out the fun little emails with the inspirational messages in it. And I don't know, I wrote back to her, I go, here's an inspirational message. And I was serious. This wasn't meant as a threat, but I guess she took it as a threat. I said, evil prevails where good men do nothing. And I think it's like Thomas Paine or something from the Revolutionary War said it. And I've always been inspired by that, because if, you know, you're not willing to speak up when something bad's going on. Well, she went to the director of the call center, and I got called into the director's call center. And she's like, I don't know what this has to do with what I'm talking about, but the director calls me and she's like, what did you mean by this email? What was your intent behind it? I said, what email? She goes, this email you sent to whatever, I don't remember the woman's name. I said, I had no intention. It was just an inspirational thing, because she was sending out. She goes, well, she took it the wrong way, like it was a threat, and I fucking exploded. And probably from that point forward, they thought I was a threat. I said, you're trying to tell me that this crazy ass bitch that doesn't do her job and hasn't reviewed my calls in months, you've got a call center out there where the headsets are broken, the PCs don't work, and you're worried about me sending an inspirational message to my supervisor? I fucking just lost my shit. And I just said, you know, she goes, maybe you need to go home for the rest of the day. And I said, well, maybe I do. And I went home, and I came back the next day and I resigned, because I just had enough. I don't know why. I don't know why I reacted that way. I was really offended that they thought that was a threat. Bunch of fucking idiots. And then another time, somebody in one of the call centers, I found out he was firing somebody because of her color of her skin. And I went to HR and they said, sorry, you know, we won't have any proof of what you're saying, dude. And from that day forward, my life was miserable. They just made my life miserable. They went to him. He came up to me and goes, oh, you're feeling mighty white today, aren't you? So he knew what I had done, and so they were trying to get rid of me. So just keep your mouth shut is my point. The trainer was giving me side eyes. I do that easy because my eyes wander. Giving you the side eye. He says, giving you side eyes for giving him feedback. I asked not to leave a review, but they said you must provided feedback on how training went. I was honest, but yeah, you can't be honest in your reviews of training either. I hate to tell you this now. I've done that too. You can't. Because this happened to me at Verizon. We had these two guys in Verizon. We had two trainers in Verizon. And I called them frickin' frack because the one guy had a mullet. And the other guy was from Oklahoma. I've talked about them in an old video. The guy from Oklahoma, his first day of training, he came, he was really fat. He looked like Pugsley. He looked like the chubby kid from the old Addams Family TV show. He comes in and goes, hey, okay, my name is Bill, and I'm from Oklahoma. And I know there's a joke out there that says the only thing that comes from Oklahoma is steers and blank. Well, I ain't either of those. So don't you even say that joke. And the other guy was really proud of his mullet. He talked about his hair. He said, I got a mullet. My wife likes my mullet. These guys were just mouth breathers. And so one day HR comes into the class. The trainers leave. HR comes in and says, okay, everybody come on into my office with me. There are like 30 of us. And she took us into this big boardroom with a big round table and said, hi, how's training going? Oh, and she's all being friendly and stuff. You know, she's one of these fat broads that scooted around on one of those leg scooters because she's so fat she blew out one of her knees. And so she had to like scooch on this little scooter. And so she's like, how's training going? How's everything going? Are you guys enjoying having a good time? And a few of us, myself included, we started to voice our concerns about, you know, certain things. I don't remember what I said, but I said, you know, certain things aren't quite right here. And it was not good for me after that. It wasn't. And it was just, you just don't open your mouth to HR. Don't. They don't care. They're there to try to find out who the troublemakers are. They're not there to try to improve training. They're not there to try to say, oh, wow, frickin' frack aren't doing the jobs. Maybe we better get rid of them. Though I did notice one of them was gone for quite a while. I don't know where he went. Yeah, you can't complain. Though I did, at Verizon, I went on this guy's team, the Zippity Bebop guy that you guys have heard me talk about. He had put me on a PIP. And I'd been on his team for like, I don't know how long I was on that guy's team, like 8 months or something. It was the latter part of my tenure at this fine organization. And it seemed like no matter what I did, he was not going to let me off this PIP. And, you know, I'm taking like 1,000 calls a week. And I took him aside. He took me in for a Q&A, and he found another bad call. And I said, you know, how do you do this? How do you find, I take 1,000 calls, not a week. I take 1,000 calls a month or 2,000 calls a month. And you always happen to find the one call I screwed up. How does that work? He's, well, you know, zippity bebop, you know, well, you know, the Q&A, he finds the words that, you know. And I'm like, God, you're full of crap. He's like, you didn't just say that. I said, there's no way. There's no way unless you're looking for this. How about all the good calls I do? He's, well, you know, and he just didn't have an answer. So I went to HR, and same lady with the leg scooter. I said, tell me, you know, why am I on this PIP still? She's like, well, let me look at your file. She pulled out my file and she said, no, you're not on a PIP. I don't have any record of you being on a performance improvement plan. That's what a PIP is, in case of those of you that are watching aren't call center people, but I was put on a performance improvement plan. And she said, there's no record of you being on a PIP. You're on a PIP? And I said, yeah, that's what he told me. He said, I've been in a PIP. That's why I'm on his team, because he wants me to improve, but he does nothing to help me improve. He never sits down and helps me. He just ridicules me and pulls bad calls, and that's it. And then he goes golfing for two weeks. He goes on. He had been with Verizon for like 15 years. And he was a disgrace. He was just a disgrace of an employee and probably of a human being, even though he was very proud to have served in the United States Marines, got help wherever he served, because he probably was a douchebag. So she's like, no, I have no record of you being on a PIP, and I'll take a look at this. And I was like, oh, really? She's like, yeah, it's not right. If you're on a performance and improvement plan, it's supposed to be filed with Human Resources, because that's, you're borderline going to get walked out of here. I'm like, so you don't know anything about this? No. She said, no. And within 2 weeks, I was put on a different team. Somebody pulled me. HR they didn't tell me this, but I'm assuming that HR pulled me off of his team and put me on another guy's team who was just as bad as the last guy. And I resigned within 2 weeks of being traded to that other guy's team. And the reason I resigned is because everything that this guy, the previous guy who put me on the PIP, there was a certain procedure, I don't remember what it was, but he started to show me how to do something. So you're doing these calls wrong, you got to do them like this. So I go over to the other guy's team and he pulls me aside and he says, why are you doing this on these particular type of calls? And I said, well, that's what the zippity bebop guy told me to do. He goes, well, no, that's not right. We don't do it that way. We do it this way. And it turns out that this guy was not only put me on a PIP, he was giving me bad information. I think he's gone from the company. I think he lost his job. I think he lost it in one of the layoffs. And zippity and hopping and snipping and snopping, yeah. The trainers are giving the side eyes. I love that, the side eye. I was unhappy with the pay they offered. It's about $33,500 annually before taxes. I thought they could give $35,000, but I remembered HR or payroll will backfire, so lots of luck getting more money out of these people. No, you're not going to get it. That's not great money. I don't even think you can live off of that these days, but it's better than nothing. I've tried to negotiate pay. I've sat down and said, I've got all these years of call center experience, and I've got sales experience, and people are like, sorry, we only hired $15 an hour. So you're not going to be able to negotiate pay. And that's you have to be really skilled at that. You have to have some really tremendous negotiation skills and know how to approach it and how to make the deal. You have to be like a mini Trump or something. My wife is somebody that, she just got a new job a couple years ago. It's been 2 years now. Good Lord. She lost her job and, she's somebody that should have gotten a lot more money than she got, but she needed the job, so she just took what they offered her. She took a significant pay cut. And it's unfortunate because if anybody deserves the money, she does. I don't know about me, but she's quite a focused, diplomatic, fair and even keel person. And her new boss sees it. She's got a new boss who sees it. And who knows what will happen. But it's hard to get these companies, especially in the call center, because they don't want their higher ups tell the subordinates, this is what you're going to pay them. This is all we can afford to pay them. You're not going to pay them anymore. There's nobody's going to get hired into a call center at $25 an hour. If that starts happening, that call center will be shut down and replaced with AI, or it'll be offshored to India, where they pay them like $3 an hour or $4 an hour, or what the going rates are in India or Pakistan or Philippines. Let's see here. CTRG says they only give a slight increase to the pay. They were overlooking my resume, but I guess it's better than nothing. They're lowballing. It's a bank. It should be somewhat lucrative, but it ain't. No, banking used to be in the old days, like in the 60s and 70s. If you got to be in a bank, you could make some decent cash. But these days, this is something you'll find out in this film, and you'll see in this book by Debbie Goldman, that there was a time in corporate America or in the corporate world where the corporations, while they were not the nicest places to work, and that's why they had unions, they had unions in place that would negotiate for fair wages and healthy workplaces, and customers were considered, and profits were important, but as things changed over time and corporations got bigger, profits and only profits were the main goal. And they squished the unions, they squashed the unions, they squished pay raises. Nobody gets a big pay raise anymore. Very few people do. And now it's just completely gone backwards, where the employees aren't even paid well anymore. And these companies, some of these companies are making profits, just like historical profits, at the expense of good customer, at the expense of the employees, and at the expense of the customer. Nobody gets good service anymore. I can't even think of the last time I got good service. I mean, crap, I went to my doctor today. I had a 90-day visit with my surgeon. And I drove 40 miles to go see him. I got there on time, and I sat in the waiting room for half an hour. Nurse calls me in, and she says to me, "Oh, here's some paperwork you got to fill out. Ask these questions about how your health has been." She goes, "If you can't finish it, don't worry, because the doctor is going to be in here real soon. He's got a meeting to go to, so he can't spend a lot of time with you, but I want you to spend as much time with him as you can." So this doctor comes in, my surgeon, and he's got a sidekick with him, another doctor who's probably, a resident or something. He says, "This is Dr. Schmickety Schmuck. He's going to be observing today. How are things going?" "Okay, thanks." And he's like looking at his watch, and he's like in a hurry. You can tell he's trying to rush me through the thing. I'm trying to talk to him, and he's just like, "Okay, well, looks like you're doing good. Somebody will contact you, in another 6 months to make another appointment with me. Okay, see ya." And on the way out, I was heading out, and he walks past me in the hallway with his backpack and his briefcase, and he's like, "Okay, see ya." And I'm like, "Bye, bud." I called him Bud, but this guy had no time for me. And that probably cost us $600-800 for 20, not even 5 minutes. I didn't spend 5 minutes with this guy. He didn't give a shit about me. He didn't give a crap. He got paid for the surgery. He'll get paid for today. And that's it. And where he works at the Cleveland Clinic is so massive. It's all about profits. It's all about money. That's all they care about, is money and profits. And all companies are like that now. They're just a bunch of megalomaniac, maniacal, greedy sociopaths. Yeah, bosses and grunts. John Gunderson, sorry, John. Well, guys, I'm going to sign off here. I appreciate you all watching. Hope you have a good rest of the week. I got a lot more going on here, and I haven't put up many videos. TRG says, "Our manager is a newbie himself. He has probably no practical knowledge. He was hired based on previous managerial work, but they don't know the system. All they do is email KPIs, targets." Yeah, they always hire some newbie manager in because they can probably get him in at a lowball rate, because they'll say, "Well, we can't pay you what you're worth because you don't know our systems or our culture," but they probably promised him all kinds of things and bonuses if you guys reach your numbers. All right, guys, I'm going to end the stream here. I appreciate you all for being here and watching. Keep an eye out for more videos. I'll work on some tomorrow. I'll get something out here. I haven't done anything because I was out of town visiting my brother-in-law. I saw my nieces play basketball and volleyball. That was a lot of fun. They're really talented young ladies. All right, guys, thanks so much. You have a great night, and I'll talk to you.